again, come on up first again. What are your views on the pros and cons of teacher merit pay? What is a fair measure of merit?
Well, I think when it comes to teacher merit pay, we should look at a couple of different factors here. We should look at education and how much education the teacher has. And then number two, we should probably compare it to other municipalities in the state of New Jersey and the country to make sure we were at the same level of what other states and with the whole Christie initiative.
Ms. Rhodes-Kearns.
I do believe that teacher merit is a nice concept, but how would it be implemented? Could be damaging to perhaps a teacher who is in a school or a particular class where through no fault of their own, the scores are low and this teacher is expected to just raise them. And so I'm afraid of that. And then another teacher is put into a school that's so successful and they get the merit. So you have to be careful. I really want to know closely, how is this going to be evaluated, the teacher merit system?
I don't agree with merit pay for teachers. It is too widely varying, and there are too many things outside of the teacher's control that would probably lead to discouraging people from entering this kind of profession. That's certainly what we don't want to do. We want to keep the best teachers in the schools, and by enacting a merit pay type of situation, we would discourage people from choosing that kind of profession.
Talking to a family considering moving to Hoboken, what would you tell them to convince them to enroll their kids in Hoboken schools? It says top 3 selling points. I don't know if they mean to distinguish between district and charter, or if they're talking about private schools versus both, but however you'd like to interpret the question. What would you tell someone moving to town about Hoboken schools?
Well, as a school board member and a parent whose children went to the Hoboken Public Schools, I would have to advocate for our public schools first and foremost, and that would be, especially for young parents, our early childhood programs, which is so successful. And this district has not delayed in investing in our children's education with our early childhood program. We know the importance of it, and that's what I would impress upon them the most, is our early childhood program.
Mr. Feinstein.
All right, top 3 selling points for the Hoboken School District. I would say the top selling point is the recent hiring of our new superintendent, Dr. Toback. I think that was an excellent choice made by the board, and I'm excited about going forward with Dr. Toback, and as a parent, hopefully working with him to improve the education in both the high school and all the other district schools. Another huge selling point, I think, in Hoboken is that there are so many school choices. I believe between K through 8, there are 11 different choices for you. And I think that's nothing but excellent. And the third selling point, I would just say that this is the greatest city, which is right next to the greatest city in the world, New York City. So it's a great place to bring your kid up, a great place to live, and a great place to have huge learning experiences over across the river in Manhattan. Thank you.
Well, I have to agree with Steve here. We are one of the closest cities to the greatest city in the world. And I think that growing up in this area really proves that students can make it far with the big city right across the river. And I also have to agree with Francis about the early childhood programming. And I see many students coming out of there, and it is just an excellent feature for our schools.
Okay. Program.
Absolutely not. I would not support a policy that would exclude charter school students. I think that charter school students can only benefit their Hoboken public school student peers, so I would not oppose that.
Mr. Feinstein.
No, I would have a big problem with a program that would exclude anybody. If there are resources available and we have the space and the ability, then absolutely. There should be nobody excluded.
Ms. Rose-Kearns?
Back when my children were in Brand School, our parent group lobbied Paula Ohans for a district-wide theater program, including charter schools, private schools, our Hoboken children, because the talent is just not limited to public school children. And I believe we should inspire all our children to be creative. It helps in their learning process, and I am a big advocate for including every Hoboken child in a district-wide theater program.
Point of information is, pardon my own ignorance, are charter school kids allowed to go to the theater programs now? They're not. Okay, just wanted to clarify the question. Next, beginning with Mr. I saw shaking heads, but
There's actually a young lady that was in the Hairspray performance, the production at the high school is from Legion Charter.
you guys can chat if you want. Do you have any thoughts on that? Just to
My
make it fair?
thoughts on that is, I think that's wonderful, but I think perhaps...
Is that an exception,
Do
or
they
is that...
offer such a program in the Legion? Because if your school does not offer a program, whether it be sports, whether it be the arts, you are allowed to participate in your sending district's program. So is that the case? Does the Legion Charter have a theater program like that?
Well, no.
Maybe that may have been the reason, but I do
And I'm
believe
not sure
everybody
if
should be
Tara's-
included. I'm not questioning
Okay,
that,
and
but it
Mr.
should be
Biancamano?
included. But that may have been the reason why she was there.
Okay, and Mr. Biancamano, do you want any time on that? Okay. So, Mr. Feinstein, let me ask, how can you contribute to successful board meetings? And just, I guess, the thought being the actual meetings themselves, the logistics of them, the tone, the kinds of questions you ask, or whatever you do. How would you help contribute to board meetings?
Well, the first thing I would try to do would be to make sure that the meetings are scheduled at a time when the board members could make it, that it's not a situation where board members have to miss meetings because they are inconvenient to them. However, I have to also point out that it's a board, and they can only meet certain times and make so many accommodations. So one thing I guess would be to work cooperatively to have the widest attendance at the board meetings. I would also suggest that the tone at board meetings be civil and respectful, and there be no vulgarity or swearing, cursing, name calling, or any other kind of demeaning behavior towards board members or towards public or anyone attending the meetings. And I would also suggest that everyone listen carefully to each other and respect each other's ideas.
Ms. Waiters, if you'd like to come sit down. You guys, I guess, would share a microphone. That's all right. So, Ms. Rhodes-Kearns, on the logistics of the meetings and how you might help in whatever way you'd like to comment about the meetings themselves.
Okay, in the beginning of the school year, we are given a calendar, and it does have the date and times of our meetings, so you can put that time aside. Other than extenuating circumstances, there really is no reason why there would be a scheduling conflict, because you have it for the whole school year. So it's pretty good like that. With the meetings, what I advocate is that the members of the public are allowed to say what they want to say. They have every right to say it. We may not like to hear what they have to say, but it's their absolute right to say it to us. Whether it's praise or criticism, they have every right to say it. So,
Mr. Biancamano.
Yeah, just to add on what Francis was just saying, I believe that we do need to make sure that the members of the public have their chance to speak. Obviously not vulgar or anything, we don't want fights going on or things like that. But we just need to make sure that we keep an open and transparent process to all members of the public, and to make sure that they have ample time to speak. Thank you.
Ms. Waiters, the question to you is board meetings themselves. How would you contribute to successful board meetings in either the logistics of how the meetings are run, or the tone of the meetings, or how and when people talk? How would you contribute to board meetings?
First of all, I want to ask for my apology for being late. I'm sorry. I just left another important meeting. What I suggest is, there's a lot of people that's running that's involved in so many different things and sit on so many different boards. And tonight is a perfect example of that. You can't be in 3 places at one time. I will hope that the person that runs is available at the meeting, first of all, and don't have to keep being excused and be on time, and get the mothers and the more people involved in coming. Try to get the parents involved, because their voice really counts and it makes a difference. And I noticed you don't have the attendance at the meeting. There's very little people at the meeting, but there's a lot of issues going on. So I would try to get the parents out to the meetings. Thank you.
Okay, next question.
Francis, to an extent, I think that we need to look at the 2 jobs at hand, and we need to make sure that the individual who is taking the 2 jobs has enough time for the students of Hoboken, and if he or she doesn't, then the job cannot be his or hers. So if the person can manage it and make sure that he commits to the students of Hoboken, to what the job description entails, then it should be allowable. Thank you.
Mr. Weinstein. Ms. Rhodes-Kearns is, can you say definitively if there will be an early childhood program in September 2011? And apart from just maybe either a yes or no, if you'd like to just comment on early childhood education, curriculum, or your thoughts about management of such.
Okay, if it were my sole decision, absolutely, the early childhood program remains. I have to say it again. We all know by now that the first 8 years of the life of a child is when they are developing their intellectual, emotional, and social development, and they absorb so much. And this early childhood program has been so successful, and I would just advocate that we keep it if the budget for it remains. Things are up in the air right now with the governor, with his state, the cut aids he made to the state aid, the cuts he made to our state funding. And so we don't know until the Supreme Court rules on whether that was unconstitutional or not, or what the funding is going to be for the future.
Mr. Feinstein, can you say definitively, will there be an early childhood program in 2011, and your thoughts about such programs?
I cannot say definitively whether there will be that program in the fall, and specifically for the reasons that Fran just mentioned. This all has to do with funding. It has to do with the budget. There's no secret that this board, this school district lost $5 million of funding just last year, or within the last couple of years. And instead of losing programs and sinking even further down, we have prevented programs from being lost, and we have also been able to avoid an increase in the tax levy, even though we've lost that $5 million. But as far as the early childhood program goes, it is very popular and loved by everyone here in this district. If there's any way that we can keep it going, even in the face of these cuts, we will certainly do that.